Thanks, everyone. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to come in today to listen to this piece. It is an important piece, and it needs touched on because I see this Facebook, and there's somebody with an article or usually a video talking about, and almost sometimes I've seen it labeled, breathing is bracing. Breathing is bracing. It is not bracing. So we need to kind of understand that there's three functions to the diaphragm. Okay? We've got respiration function, we've got stabilization function, and we've got my favorite, the sphincter function, okay? We're not gonna touch on that one today. Unless I have some really profound gas and you can all hear it. But outside of that, we're not gonna touch on it. So they are integrated together, and we're gonna talk about integration of those today. Now, I'm not saying breathing isn't important. Breathing is the fundamental piece where you start. If you have respiration dysfunction, you will continue to need to go back and deal with issues. They're gonna come up, they're gonna pop around different places of your body. It is a fact that you will continue to have issues, you will have power loss. It is important that if you have breathing dysfunction, you must deal with it. And so that's where we talk about the diaphragmatic breathing strategies. And we're not gonna go into that today. So we're gonna say that's taken care of. But we're gonna talk about what is the difference between diaphragmatic breathing, proper breathing, and the stabilization function that the diaphragm also has, and how those integrate together, okay? They are not the same thing. Unless you guys want to talk about the sphincter function, we could spend time talking about that. It'd be fun. I know Brandon wants to, so, you know. So, before we get to bracing, we've got to talk about posture. So you cannot have proper bracing without having proper posture to begin with. It simply won't happen. So we must have the diaphragm right here. It's this cone-shaped muscle that hooks to the rib cage here, and it drives down, working in opposition to the pelvic floor. These two have to be aligned, and we'll get into why here in a minute. But this is why our flared rib cage position is a big issue. I used to walk around with this. Actually, you'll find my rib cage actually used to be flared outward and almost raised up until I started doing a lot of this work, and it physically changed. And that was something that was with me. I remember it like in high school, because I would be like, man, I could never compete in bodybuilding. I'll never have the physique because I've got this weird jacked up rib cage. My rib cage changed in my mid-30s when I started doing this stuff. That is freaking crazy, right? The other is this right here. And I'm one that has to deal with that. I've got some anterior pelvic tilt there, and we've got to deal with cleaning that up. A lot of our larger muscled lifters will be in that position, but you've got to be able to fix that first. Because if we don't have those two working perfectly in opposition to each other, we've got this opened up here. What happens if we fill it? So we are going to pressurize like you're breathing. You're going to fill it with air, okay? It's all going to push out towards the front. And we need it to be equally pressurized all the way around, okay? So any deviation here is going to cause some issues. See this quite a bit, like in squatting, where people have either shoulder mobility issues or this tilt. They just kind of start in this unhinged position right here in the squat. Guess what? They're just kind of over-exaggerated, got some tilt. Oh no, pressurized, Duffin, I followed all your stuff, and I went into the hole in the bottom of the squat, and I went right into butt wink. Well, it's because you need to start here. Now I can pressurize. Okay, that's the beginning. So anytime, and this is called an open scissor, we have that. We have to fix those deficits. So where do we start? We start with assessing breathing, right? You got breathing dysfunction, you're going to have dysfunction in your body, you're going to have energy loss, you're going to have issues, because if the diaphragm doesn't know how to breathe properly, its other functions are not going to be working well as well. So next, then you go to posture. You've got to deal with postural deficits. So this one here, we need to talk about why is it important that it's all the way around and uneven, okay? And this is where we start getting into bracing functions, and what does that mean? The difference between breathing and breathing. Breathing, you're just filling with air. Oxygen, so you can feel your body, right? All right. Bracing, we're using all this structure all the way around as an outer sheath. And it needs to become rigid and resist, okay? And then we're gonna push against it. And those forces need to be equal in all directions, all the way around. There's another complaint I've got, because a lot of people say, yep, I've got that dialed, I go to yoga, you know, I really got this breathing function down. Got these big belly breaths, I'm a master of it. And we do some testing and they've got significant dysfunction. Why? It's all going this way, right here. We need to be inflating all the way around into the paraspinals. You get pain in your deadlift right off that floor. A lot of times people aren't inflating in that paraspinal region. Right back in here, we need to be pushing out. This is where the belt is a good cue to fill that up. This is an issue I think last year I helped Stan Efferding a lot with on his deadlift. He was experiencing a lot of back pain, and we did some quick fixes focused on filling those areas out. Pain dropped down immediately, power output went up. So this is an area how we find those deficits. You need to check around and find, where am I weak, where am I soft